Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. You can see that we're working on the river bar again. I guess we're going to call this video the river bar build, which you've probably already seen if you're watching the video. That's the title. So we've been sanding these off with the orbital sander, the two halves of the bar. We've got a 36 grit on there right now. Now we're going to mix up a paste with some sawdust and some wood glue, and we're going to fill a gap in there where the two boards go together. They weren't the straightest boards, and I nailed them and clamped them and glued them, but we still got a little bit of a gap in there. And I think if we mix up a little bit of the sawdust and some of the wood glue, just kind of put it in that crack, we'll let that dry, we can sand that out. I don't think you'll ever notice that gap is in there. So stick around, let's get back to it. So I think this stuff here will make a nice little paste. That's just the stuff that we collected in the little collector from the orbital sander. So what we're going to do, we're just going to, well, first we're going to clean off this tip because our glue doesn't really want to come out. We're just going to get some glue on here on this little piece of wood that I've got, and we're going to dump this stuff out on it. I may not have a big enough platform there. I need to find something that I can mix that with. Need a little stick. Well, I don't think that's going to do it. Let me find a stick here. So we've got this little paint stir stick. May have done way too much of this, but I believe I'd rather have a little too much than not enough. And I've never done this before, but I've heard about, well, I think I did do it one time a long time ago. We were filling in some nail holes back on the farm when I was a kid. And my dad showed us how to mix up some of this filler. And it really works well. It's when that's finished, you'll never know that the gap was there because you're using the sawdust from the same color of wood. So the way it kind of sets up in there, you'll never, once it sets up and we sand it, it will just disappear. It's pretty cool. I'm making a mess here. But it's just wood glue. It'll clean up, sand off, whatever we need to do. Just make us a kind of a paste here out of sawdust and wood glue. That's all it is. And it looks like it's coming together nicely. It almost turns into a kind of a putty. And there it is, our wood filler paste. I believe that'll work. I don't think we've got a ton of time to mess with it. Well, we've got it all puttied in here, as you can see. There was a pretty good gap in there. Now we're going to let this set up and go eat some lunch. And then we'll come back and finish it off. So stick around, we'll be right back. Well, since we filled this edge in with the little sawdust and wood glue putty I made, the little mixture, you can still see a little bit of a line there, but it beats the tar out of a gap. And the thing is, we're using two different types of wood anyway. This top 2x8, like I told you, I believe, is Douglas fir. The bottom 1-inch piece, 1x8 that I laminated to the bottom to make it thicker, is white pine. So, but all of this, most of this, up here to a pretty good level, is going to get buried by these blue fireplace rocks. These are going to go all in here in between here, these, along with, they're really pretty, look at that. And the LED lights in the bottom will refract up through these. And then of course, I ordered some smaller. These here, they said these were 1/2 inch. They're actually more like 3/4 inch in size. If you can see them. But they're just made for your basic backyard propane fire pit or something. You can put the, you know, in, and the fire comes up through them and gives you that pretty reflection. But mine will be in LED lights in the bottom of the deal shining up through these. But they said that these were 1/2 inch when I ordered them, and they're actually more like inch to 3/4 of an inch. They're pretty good size. So I ordered another bag of 1/4 inch fractured, just more or less crushed, like, you know, just square little crushed chunks. Looks kind of like a broken windshield, broken window in a car, like when the side window shatters. And they're basically the same color. I think they're a little lighter blue than this. So we'll do some layers, and the smaller pieces will fill in the gap where these bigger ones are going to leave a lot of gaps. So we'll put some small in over the LEDs, then we'll put some bigger ones, and we'll put some small, and we'll kind of layer it up and mix it up so that it, so I think that'll make it look a little better. But yeah, this came out pretty good. Here, the way we filled that in with our little glue and wood paste setup. I did the edge of this board also, because this is the front. This will be the front facing edge of the bar. And it had a small gap here and there. You know, it was put together fairly well, but had little gaps here and there. So I made up another batch of paste and I filled that in. And we're getting ready to sand that up now. I think it's been long enough. And see what that looks like. So that sanded up nicely. Again, it wasn't a huge gap, but it was enough of a gap in there because this board was warped like this. So even though I glued it and nailed it with these finish nails, and I put clamps on it last night, we still ended up with some little gaps. Of course, I didn't buy hardwood. We're not using real expensive lumber. We're using some Douglas fir and some white pine. So, but it came out pretty good. So you can see there wasn't much of a gap there, but there was enough of a gap in there that I didn't want just a hole, just a gap in the wood there. This is going to be the front. This will be the edge of the bar that faces out towards us, so I want it to be nice. And then here's a good look at that. You can see the line where I filled in that gap. Again, it's fairly noticeable. Now right here it was really a nice tight fit of the lumber, so you didn't really see much. And then down here we got a little bit of a gap again, but it's but that's all going to be buried under that rock, under that blue glass bead. So I don't think I'm going to sweat it too much. because even though you can see it, and plus when you wet this, when I hit this with epoxy, casting epoxy the first time, I'll paint this inside of these edges with a paintbrush, and the bottom. Once I have this slid together where it's going to go, both pieces, then we'll mix up some epoxy, and we'll hit this all with a paintbrush to get it all wet first, because then when you pour your epoxy in, it'll flow a lot nicer. If you try to pour it in with your wood dry, the wood wants to soak it up and it just barely moves, and it can be kind of a nightmare. So, but once we paint this with some epoxy and that wood darkens up from the moisture of the epoxy, I'm pretty convinced you won't even notice that this is here. You know, it'll just kind of blend. Okay, so we burnt this top and this inside edge here. The back edge will go to the wall, so we're not going to see it anyway. But that really brings the grain out and those knots and what have you in that board. And that seam isn't even going to be noticeable. Number one, it'll be buried under that blue glass. And two, now that it's burnt, it almost looks like one solid piece. So it's going to look quite good. We get both of these done and get our glass, our fire pit glass in between. And I think that's going to look great. Here, I'll show you the difference. So there's our two boards side by side. You can see the dramatic difference that that burning makes. And it doesn't take a lot, you know. Just go over it lightly with the torch. The softer areas get darker because they burn more easily, and the harder areas, like where the knots are, stay lighter, and it just really brings that grain out. Now once we pour the river in the center and the thing is a solid piece, then we'll pour a cap over the top of it. We'll put some tape around here for a fence. The tape will just go around, and we'll leave the tape sticking up, you know, 1/4 of an inch or so, and we'll pour the entire top with clear. Then once that sets, we'll peel that tape off, and then we'll set this up in a manner with a tarp on the floor and everything, so that we can just pour over the whole top of it and let it run down, let it run off and down these edges. And the whole thing will just be shiny as hell. We're going to take and route this front edge, because that's a pretty sharp edge right there. You can see that's really square and sharp. So we'll route this off. We'll use probably the same router that we used on that hanger up there. I don't know if you can see it very well. Try to get over here where you can see it. You can see the bit that I used on this. Leaves a pretty cool edge on there, so that's what we'll do on the bar. And of course, again, we won't do the back. This side here will just stay flat because that goes against the wall over there. But this edge here, once this is all filled in, this will be like a big solid board. And so this edge will get routed, this front edge, and that edge down there. But yeah, we're getting there. It's looking pretty good. I can't wait to get this thing finished up and see the finished product. It's going to look great, I think. So if you can't find a big slab with a live edge on it, make your own. That's all I did. 2 pieces of wood. Made it about the thickness of a 2.5-inch slab. And then you burn it like that, and I mean, you can't tell that that's not just an old big piece of timber with a live edge, I don't think. So it looks pretty good. Okay, so we got these ends burnt. Cut a little angle off here so we wouldn't catch ourselves when we come out the door of the house into the garage. It's going to look pretty good. I went ahead and I put a board under here. This piece of pegboard, just so I'd have a base. There's the rocks, the glass rocks, and I got my little flashlight under there. Got a little LED shop light under there so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. So that's what the river bar is going to be like. Only there will be an LED strip under the full length of this, way brighter than that. That'll shine up through here and really make those lights, make those glass fire pit beads really pop. So we're getting there. I should have this put together in another week or two. Problem with this stuff is I have to put one layer in the bottom of epoxy, about 1/4 of an inch deep, then lay my LED strip. But when I put that 1/4 inch in there, I've got to wait like 24 hours to let it set up so I can glue my LED strip down to the bottom. Oh, there, that light went out. Now you can kind of get a little better idea of how that's going to look with that blue, fire pit glass in it. It's going to be quite cool, I think. Of course, this will all be really shiny too, because once we bring this up level, we'll pour this up level, let that set up, and then we'll sand it a little bit, and then we'll come in and pour. Alright, so my camera died. Said my card was full. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Once that's up full, we'll fill this, let it cure for 24 hours. Then we'll come in and sand it. And then we're going to come back. We'll put tape all around these edges, leave it stick up maybe 1/8 of an inch, and then pour this whole top. It'll cover everything. So that'll stand out. But look how good that looks through that light. Seems to pick up better. I'm using my phone to record right now, and it seems to pick up a little better on the phone than it did on that camera. So these phone cameras are kind of amazing. It blows my mind how good a picture you get. But that's what it'll be like, only the whole thing will be lit up, because I'll have a strip of LEDs all down there. They're only like a couple inches apart. Well, you can see up there. You can see each one of those little nubs is an LED light. I'll be putting that same strip just like that in here. So they're only about an inch apart, probably. So this whole thing will just be bright, brilliant, just like that is. I think that's going to be like a pretty cool bar. So we can go ahead and turn some lights back on. So that's that. I think we're going to call it for today. There's not much more I can do until I get some more, until I get my materials in. They haven't really supposed to be here, I guess, sometime close to next weekend. Some of this stuff takes a long time to get here, so yeah, that's it. We'll call this video number 1 on the river bar build. So thanks for watching. Be careful in your shop when you're out working in your shop. Get out there and do something, build something, tear something up, fix something, whatever. Just be careful and have a good time. And we'll see you on the next one.